Hey guys, if you have just got your first allotment plot or you are waiting to get your first allotment plot and you want to know all there is to know about growing your own fruit and vegetable on an allotment plot, this is the series for you. My name is Emma. I have been growing on my allotment for 5 years. I started as a complete gardening beginner and I've taken 2 allotment plots now from an absolute jungle to a productive growing space. And now I want to share all of that knowledge with you guys. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, do that. Have a look at the other videos in the playlist. And I do hope you find them helpful. So in this video, I'm going to share how to get your growing areas ready for growing into. It's up to you if you want to use a raised bed or not. A raised bed would just mean that the depth of the soil is deeper and you can just add your compost on top and build it up. I kind of use wood as more of a structural element just to define the growing areas, but I'm really growing into the ground. Either way is fine, you find what works for you. You can probably see here that although I have got wooden sides, the soil level isn't that high, so I wouldn't really class these as raised beds. I'm using the wood more as a structural kind of element just to define where the growing areas are, and then I can make my pathways around them. Whatever you choose to do, you are going to need to improve the soil in order to grow vegetables in. Vegetables are very hungry plants and they require a lot of nutrients, and so the more you can put into your soil, the better the plants will do. The trick is the soil. It's all in the soil. So whenever I carve out a new growing area for myself at my allotment plot, and I do this quite a lot because I like to change things up, the first thing I put down is a thick layer of cardboard. Always use brown cardboard, kind of the matte stuff, so nothing shiny that you would get on a toy packaging or a fish finger packet. You want it to be matte, you want it to be brown. You want to get rid of all the sellotape and sticky labels. We don't want any glue or anything nasty that's not going to decompose into your soil. Why cardboard, I hear you say? Well, there's a few reasons for it. First of all, it's a great weed suppressant. The cardboard quite literally smothers weeds. It stops them from being able to get to the light, and it just completely starves them of nutrients. So it's just a great way of just cutting down all the weeds. Secondly, it's quite good at retaining moisture. You're adding literally a layer of kind of matte material here, so it's going to be really good at retaining moisture in your soil. And also, it's good for your soil. You can actually compost cardboard and rip it up and put it into your compost heap. It breaks down as a brown material. The worms absolutely go crazy for it, not quite sure why, but they do. And all of this will help with your soil structure. Once your cardboard is down, and it's been down for a little while and the weeds have stopped coming up, you can start to add on top natural organic material. Things like leaves that have fallen from the tree that you've collected up, old crops that you've chopped up really small, bags of compost, horse manure. All of these things are great for just layering up on top of the cardboard. No need to dig it in, it will just pull itself down into the soil and add goodness as it goes. There's a couple of reasons why we need to add lots of organic material. Firstly, add nutrients. Like I said, vegetables are very, very hungry plants. So are a lot of flowers as well, actually. I keep saying vegetables, but flowers too. So we need to add lots of goodness so they've got something to feed on. But also, it really helps with your soil structure. Soil structure is really, really important. Think of it as the base of holding your plants in place. Now, if it's too wet and clay-like, it's going to be too boggy for your plants and they're going to just drown in it. If it's too dry and it just falls like dust, it's not going to retain any nutrients or moisture. It's not going to do any good for your plants. So getting the structure of your soil right is really important, and the way to do that is to add lots of organic material. Right, this here is ideal soil structure. If I grab some in my hand, I squeeze it together, it kind of holds in place a bit like a snowball, but I can break it up quite easily. That's perfect soil structure for plants. That's exactly what they're looking for. Good drainage, but holds moisture. A super great thing to add on top of your soil, especially in the autumn time, is manure. Now, I'm really lucky that we get free horse manure delivered to my allotment plot here, and it's just so great for adding lots of nutrients to your soil, but also really helps with the soil structure because it's just a great organic material. There are a couple of rules when you use horse manure on your plot. Firstly, don't grow into fresh horse manure. Manure gets really hot. It's going to burn the roots of more smaller, vulnerable plants. So don't grow new plants and don't sow seeds into fresh horse manure. The best thing to do is to put it down about 6 months before you're going to use it in the autumn time. So I put it down now in September, and I won't be growing into this bed till March, April time. Gives it plenty of time to rot down. or of course just use really well rotted down manure if you can get your hands on it. Again, I really like to let my horse manure just sit on top of the soil. The worms will bring it down, the rain will bring it down, and it will just add goodness to the soil as it goes. I'm not so big on digging in. And that's another thing to think about, because I don't like to dig things in. I kind of follow loosely the no dig approach to allotment gardening, which is basically where you layer organic materials in the soil and don't dig them in. However, this approach hasn't always worked really well for me. It doesn't work everywhere here. I had a lot of bindweed on my allotment plot and a lot of really nasty perennial weeds which needed digging out, and for those beds I did double dig. That way you can really keep on top of the weeds in those beds, especially if it's a new bed. But once the bed's established, I don't tend to dig anymore. Now, looking after your growing beds is an ongoing process. You can't just do this once and then just grow into it every year and expect everything to do well. You have to keep topping it up with fresh nutrients every single year. That means fresh compost, fresh leaf mould, fresh manure, maybe a layer or two of cardboard if the weeds were particularly bad. It's something you're going to have to do ongoing. So ideally, you would make your own compost. However, not all of us know how to do that. And after 5 years, I still haven't quite mastered it. And you're probably not going to have your own compost straight away when you start out. So what I like to use are these. A nice big bag of multi-purpose compost. This is from B&Q. It's 100% peat free, which is excellent for the environment. These will do the job. Here's a little hack for improving soil structure really quickly and getting a crop out of it. Try growing potatoes. Potatoes, when they grow, actually help improve the structure of the soil, because the tubers, as they develop under the ground, break up all the soil. They add lots of nutrients to your soil. Potatoes are always a great thing to whack into any new allotment plot. And they're tasty too. Here's another handy hack for you to help improve your soil conditions every year. If you grow things like brassicas or even peas, instead of pulling the plant out when it's time to harvest, cut them down and leave the roots in. The roots will rot down under the ground and add lots of nutrients and goodness to the soil. Absolutely full of these little hacks, aren't I? Right, I hope that helps you to get started with your brand new growing beds. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what to do with them. To conclude, natural organic material is the way to go. Once you've defined your beds, just whack on as much natural organic material as you can. Just layer it up, don't even dig it in, and your beds will be ready to grow in no time. Once again, leave me any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll see you again in the next episode. See you next Sunday, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.